Choosing the right puppy may not be as straightforward as you think, especially considering all the pros and cons on adding a new little baby animal to your family. Firstly, it starts with breed. Now for us, after extensive research, we opted for a Cocker Spaniel. But then that posed another question: what kind of Cocker Spaniel do we get? Now there's two variations and both have totally different needs. There's the worker, lots of energy, needs plenty of walks and has much more energy to burn, and is primarily bred for working on farms. Or you've got the show, which needs moderate exercise and is not as hyper in behaviour. Again, after speaking with owners, asking questions, using online forums and speaking to very experienced Cocker Spaniel owners and breeders, we chose the best for our family needs. And that turned out to be the show variety. Great temperament, excellent pet, great with children, and didn't need hours of exercise every day. But a couple of long, tiring walks that fitted perfectly with our family setup and routine. Enter the next stage. Where do we get our perfect puppy from? And what happens next? Let me tell you, there are many puppy breeders out there selling gorgeous animals. And let's be honest, who isn't going to fall for the first cute puppy they meet? That is when you need to stop and take stock of your actions. It's important to choose with your head and not your heart. We as a family, in all honesty, visited our first breeder, and we were cleverly sold on the idea of choosing a chocolate sable variety of Cocker Spaniel, because apparently, and I quote, are the Rolls Royce of Cocker Spaniels. Well, according to the breeder, and this came at a price, a whopping £1,500. I did think the markings looked stunning, and my wife agreed to get the perfect puppy. The price really shouldn't come into it. Mum and Dad were also there to view, which is also very important in the process of choosing a puppy. After spending over an hour with the breeder and the puppies, we left, provisionally reserving said puppy with the agreement we would go away, discuss it further, and contact the breeder later that day with a £200 deposit. You guess what happened later that day? We paid the deposit, puppy reserved, and time to get very excited. Or so we thought. We liaised further with our breeder to visit a couple of weeks later to see how our boy was progressing. Initially, we were unsure whether to get a boy or a bitch. Again, after extensive research, a boy ticked all the boxes. Upon visiting the breeder for a second time, we were sold on the idea of a second puppy from the same litter. Good idea, you might think. What company they'll be for each other. They're brothers after all. What could go wrong? I've heard conflicting advice on if it's a good idea to get two from the same litter at the same time, but most say an absolute no. We left the breeder for a second time with another huge decision, but this time with major doubts to whether the breeder was in essence setting us a major future heartbreak for a quick buck, £2,700 to be exact. We had an idea to call our puppy trainer, who within careful planning was already hired the previous week to help us train our forthcoming edition. She told us that no breeder in the right mind would promote ever getting two puppies at the same time, let alone from the same litter. Mind made, no second puppy. Then I'm sad to say alarm bells started to sound over this supposed Rolls-Royce chocolate sable colour. Again, after more research with experts in the Cocker Spaniel field and a lengthy call to the Kennel Club, we discovered chocolate sable isn't the Rolls-Royce after all. Not even a Ford Fiesta. Okay, don't get me wrong, an animal life is just that. Very precious. However, we were sold, in the words of the Kennel Club, an undesirable dog and one of the highest prices you could ever consider paying for a puppy. Were we duped? Had we gone too far down the line to change our minds? After all, at this stage, the puppy was only 4 weeks old. Obviously, we'd already paid £200 to reserve him with the breeder, but we thought the best thing to do was to pull out. We felt very misled. The price didn't reflect this undesirable colour. In fact, the Kennel Club wouldn't be able to register the colour either. So after a quick communication with the breeder, the deal was off. The deposit wasn't offered back even though the puppy was only 4 weeks old and now has been sold on. So let's move on and put that down to a bad experience. So the search started again. And I must point out that the breeder we had that experience with wasn't a KC accredited breeder, but one we'd found on a UK website, Pets for Homes. So going forward, we needed to get everything right this time. The breeder for us had to be Kennel Club assured. We called a few breeders and we had several viewings, but this time listening to our heads and not our hearts. Of course, we found the perfect puppy. The breeder had long-term experience in show Cocker Spaniels, rearing several champions, and everything just feels right. So today, after all the lovely but sometimes frustrating journey, we present our beautiful blue roan baby show Cocker Spaniel boy, Murphy. Isn't he a stunner? Already famously known in our house as Murphy Moo. We collect him in 2 weeks and we're so excited. Please subscribe to my channel. In the coming weeks, months and years, we're going to share our journey together with Murphy, from puppy to dog, with all the experiences we'll share with him as a family. Thank you so much for watching.